Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Welcome to episode 19 of The Joy of Coding. Hello, everybody. We're going to be hacking on Firefox stuff today, as per usual. Nothing's changed there, so let's get down to business. Where's my agenda? Right here. Okay, so I say this every time, but I'm saying it specifically for people who are seeing this stream for the first time. The agenda is kind of like the layout of what I kind of want to do today. I know this is supposed to be unplanned, but I do have kind of a plan of things I want to look at. And it's all in here in the agenda. And there's also useful links for various things that I talk about and like how to contact me, etc., etc. And you can find a link to the agenda. Like it's not very useful to you if you see the agenda on my screen, but you can't click on any of the links. So if you go to the bottom, if you're watching this on Air Mozilla, down at towards the bottom of the video, there is this button that should say additional links. And the first link in there should be a link to this agenda that you can like click on the links in. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on my blog, there should hopefully be a link either to my blog or to the agenda itself. So you can click on these links and you can figure out what's going on. So that's what is currently up. So today is June 17th. Reminder that no plan survives breakfast. Who knows what's going to happen today? I'm just going to try hacking on things, and who knows, maybe it'll go all wrong. We'll find out. So I wanted to bring up that this episode is dedicated to Ryan WSE, who contacted me on IRC earlier this week, saying that they've watched every single episode. Apparently the lighting is way too hot. Apparently my face is like really washed out. Hold on a second. I will talk to you about Ryan WSE in a second. Let me just see if I can bring down the... no, put that back. I don't want to fiddle around too much, but hopefully that's better. Or, worst case scenario, I can do this. I control the shades in here. I don't know if that helped too much, but there we go. Hopefully that's better. So, save, close. Yeah, Ryan WSE got in touch with me earlier in the week and said that they've watched every single episode of The Joy of Coding, like start to finish, and they're having a good time. So thank you so much for watching them. I haven't even watched them all start to finish. So that's really impressive. So thank you for doing that, and I'm glad someone's watching this out there. So thank you for watching. And I love hearing from people who are watching the show. So that's thank you. Next, I'm away next week. Next week, I will not be in Toronto. I'll probably be... I will not be able to do a show on the day in this time slot. So most likely, the show might just not air next week. Alternatively, I might pre-record something and upload it so that it's available at this time. But if there's no episode, if you don't see me tweeting or talking about a particular episode, I probably didn't have time to pre-record something. So sorry about that. Okay, so let's get down to work. What are we doing? This today? This episode. The first thing I want to do is land a thing. There's this bug 1096550 that I didn't work on. Like this is not my patch. This is another fellow's patch named David Parks, aka Handyman, who has been hacking on E10S stuff, but is going to be away for the next while, and so he's off the grid, and there are some things he's been working on that kind of need to be pushed over the line, get them finished off. And this one here, dragging tab from one window to another on different displays zooms in. I'm going to try and demonstrate. Now the problem with demonstrating this bug is I can only show you one display at a time with my current setup. So you're just going to have to trust what I'm about to do. So I'm going to... What am I going to do? I'm going to create a new window. And then I'm going to take this and put this on my high DPI display, which you cannot see. But trust me, it's there. It's on my high DPI display. And now I'm going to open a new tab in there. And then what I'm going to do is tear that tab out and bring it over to this window, which you can see. And I want you to like observe what happens. Actually, here's the thing I can do to sort of show you the before and after. Here's the before. This is my blog. I've opened up a tab to my blog. When you switch, notice that the text got really big there for a second, then went away. When we switch DPIs, there's this big like style reflow, and it's kind of slow and ugly, and there are bugs to fix that. But notice that it like rescaled itself correctly. So this is what it's supposed to look like. And if I drag this over to my high DPI display, and then tear the tab out and drag it over to this window, everything's huge. Look, like this is humongous, and it won't rescale itself, and that's what this bug's about. It's the rescaling doesn't work whenever we tear tabs in, like drag a tab into another window. When we, I guess the technical term is swapping the dock shells, or in this case, because these are remote browsers, it's swapping the frame loaders. Because in E10S, in the multi-process world, the parent has no access to dock shells, so it can't swap them. So we're swapping what the parent does have access to, which is the frame loaders, which are the things that are actually showing you the content. But when we do that, we don't rescale the display. We don't tell the content process, hey, the DPI has changed, and so it's just rendering everything huge because it thinks I'm still on my high DPI display. So this bug actually fixes that, and there's been a patch in here for a while. This, I think, was last updated in April, so a couple months. It's just been sitting here, and the reason it hasn't landed is because there's this other bug where dragging stuff in between these two windows wasn't rescaling sometimes, and this patch relied on the stuff in this other patch. And this thing has been sort of landing and bouncing and landing and bouncing a bunch. I think it landed for the 4th time 2 days ago, and it hasn't bounced. So I think it's going to stick, fingers crossed, and so now I'm going to try and land this. And that's good because this is one of our M7 bugs for E10S, the E10S project. We're currently on milestone 7, that's what M7 stands for, and we want to get all our M7 bugs fixed. So let's land this thing. We're ready to go. And as luck would have it, the tree reopened just not too long before the episode started, so now we can land it. So I can show you what goes into landing a patch now that it's been reviewed and basically the tree's open. And I'll also be showing you how to do that whenever I'm not the author of the patch. I don't actually know if that makes a big difference, but you'll notice that whenever I push it, it won't have my name on it. It'll have Handyman's name on it because he's the one who wrote the patch. So let's see where we are. If I do glog... Oh, one thing I should point out. Some of you might wonder what glog is. Glog is just hglog with the graph setting, and I just have an alias to alias that to glog because it's easier to write. So if you've been trying to use glog and you're like, where is this glog thing? That's just me having an alias to hglog -- graph. And you can create an alias too. If you check out your local search engine and look for mercurial aliases, you can set up an alias, and that's what I've done. So right now we're here on this update DPI thing. That's what we want to land. It's been reviewed. It's all ready to go. And the first thing I need to do if I'm going to land this on inbound is I have to make sure I've got my local repository is up to date with inbound. So I'm going to pull inbound and get a bunch of change sets in. So I haven't updated since yesterday, so almost certainly there's going to be stuff on here that I don't have that I'm going to need to rebase Handyman's patch on. So pulling stuff in. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
490 change sets.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, now I'm going to rebase what I currently have. Like even though I pulled all those things in, I didn't change my location. I'm still at I'm still pointing at this update DPI patch that Handyman wrote. So now I'm going to rebase it on top of tip, and tip will be the latest stuff I just pulled down. Like the actual tip change set will be the most recent change set that I just pulled from inbound. So I will now rebase it with the destination being tip. And will it go smoothly? Yay, it did. All right, so we've got this patch. No, I say my patch, but it's not my patch. We've got Handyman's patch here, rebased on the very tip of Mozilla Inbound, and so we're ready to go. So I'm going to push this thing. Let's push it. If I wish I had the a clip from that song by Garbage, "Push It," because that would be highly appropriate right now. What I like to do before I push, just because I'm paranoid, is I use outgoing to ensure that, and I'm pushing to Mozilla Inbound, which is under integration. And the reason I'm pushing to inbound is because this touches sort of platformy code. If I was pushing something that was only for like the Firefox front end, I'd probably push the FX Team branch. But because this is more of this is code that could affect, say, B2G or Fennec and a whole bunch of other projects that Mozilla works on, I push it to Mozilla Inbound. And so I use outgoing to make sure that what's going out is what I expect to go out, and yes, it is. It's just the one change set. And now I will push, and hopefully, if how do I really? I had a key combo that would send me right back to the beginning of the line, but I seem to have lost it. Oh well. And now I will push it, and hopefully no one's landed something on inbound in the meantime, and hopefully the tree hasn't closed in the meantime. We'll see. Drum roll. All right, it landed, and that's great. What else is great is that it used to be that, like, the next step in the procedure would be to like take this commit message and write it in the bug and like do all of the sort of like bug maintenance to say that I've landed a patch on inbound. The bug is not closed yet, but it's going to be soon because it's been pushed to inbound. But the good news is that I don't have to do that anymore. If you look, hopefully it's done by now, but we have this bot. Oh, I can just refresh this. We have this automation running now that, yay, puts it in the bug for us. PulseBot has done its job. So now I have this note here that I've been working on. What's this one? Okay, landed. Hooray! Do we have a hooray? What's something good? I need a hooray. There you go. And now I will add the landed on integration tag that I've got. I will remove the block tag. These little tags don't mean anything to anyone else except me, I guess. But like they don't affect the bugs in any way. But it's just my way of knowing at a glance what state a bug is in. And in this case, it's landed on integration. So we're done. We're done this part. So let's go back to the agenda. We did this. We landed this on inbound. So the next step. The next thing I want to work on is this other bug. Now, it's sort of the same story. I'll explain what the bug's about, but before I do that, I should point out that I didn't write this patch. This patch is mostly written by this fella, Handyman, and like I said before, he's off the grid for now, and so we need someone to push this through because this is actually an M6. This is a thing that was supposed to be fixed. Like, this is really high priority. We are already beyond M6, but this is a sort of a lingering M6 bug. And the good news is he's almost done. He's done a bunch of work on getting it fixed. And what we've got here is this patch to add this workaround for OS X. Basically, it's a lot of work. I kind of understand the theory of what he's doing, but a lot of it I haven't really been paying attention to. And I don't know if you remember, it's possible that I've done an episode where I was working on this bug, because originally this was assigned to me, and I hacked on it for a bit, and then I handed it off. I gave up, because it involved doing a bunch of Cocoa and Objective-C stuff that I just was not comfortable with, and it was like we were down to the wire in M6. So I handed it off to Handyman because he knows Cocoa and Objective-C a lot better than I do. And clearly he was able to get somewhere. He wrote a thing and it works. And now my job is to just get it over the line, because there are a couple of things here that still need some work. In this case, he's got a Review Plus on one part of his patch. There's another patch here that he's got review minus on, but if you go down to where Masayuki has given him a review minus, which is down here, one of the first things Masayuki says is, or one of the last things I should say is, this looks okay to me, but he'd like to check it again. So temporarily marking this as RMI. So basically what he's saying is, there are certainly some things to fix in this patch, but it seems to be a fine approach, at least for the purposes of this patch. Because I should point out that what Handyman's doing in here is a workaround until something called async pan zoom lands and is enabled for OS X, which will allow us to do some of the stuff that Handyman is doing here in a less workaroundy way. You know what? I should probably demonstrate the bug that Handyman is attempting to fix. And I feel like there's some responsibility on my part that in this bug, like the name of the bug doesn't really match what Handyman is fixing. So in this bug, it's like make gesture support work, and the actual patches that come in are less about making gesture support work and more about making them not work when they're not supposed to. Because right now we do listen to gesture events. So if you hang on. How should I do this? So I have some browser history. You can see I've got like my forward button is enabled, so I can move forward. And if I swipe, if I use my two fingers and I swipe on my trackpad, that's a gesture that Firefox understands to go forward and backwards. And that's great. I can go forwards and backwards, and it's a nice gesture. It makes navigating web pages with my trackpad very, very easy. The problem is that sometimes Firefox doesn't know. Like in particular, this is a problem in electrolysis or multi-process Firefox. Firefox doesn't know when it should be tracking the swipe gesture and when it shouldn't. And I'll give you an example. I have this like sort of silly example page, and I will show it to you. It's called CTP test, even though it's testing something completely different now. I'm just reusing a thing. Oh, I'm already using that address somehow. Oh, I must already be running a server somewhere. Where am I running a server? Here, I'm running it here, so I don't need to rerun it. Okay. So if I go to localhost 8000, I've got this page, and if you'll notice, it's very wide. And if I go into the middle, you would expect that whenever I use my two fingers to gesture on my trackpad, that I will pan instead of going back in history. So I will do that now. But notice nothing happens, and then I let go, and I go back in history. Now it's not very impressive because of the scripts that are running. Hold on a second. Let me disable those scripts. Those. Hang on. No. Get rid of that. Okay. Rerun the server. And let's get ourselves some history here. So I'll go to the CBC, good old CBC, and then I'll go to localhost 8000. So now I have some history, and I can pan to the right, but very poorly. Like if I attempt to pan to the right, I don't know if you can see this scroll bar down here. I can't pan very easily. I pan like a couple of pixels at a time, and it's really lame. And what's happening is that Firefox doesn't know whether this area can be scrolled or not. It has no way of knowing because that's down in the content process, and it's got no way of currently of synchronously asking whether or not this area is scrollable. And so it assumes that it's not scrollable, and then it starts tracking the gesture as a swipe. So to demonstrate, if I go into the middle here again, and then I hit back. Oh, hang on. Come on. Don't do this to me. Why am I... Strange. I shouldn't be changing the... Like index.html should definitely be doing something different now. Maybe I've got it cached. How do I defeat the cache here? this case. Okay. How do I defeat the cache? Because the page is still loading the script for some reason. I don't want it to. Stop doing it. Alright, well anyways, for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm wasting time, but basically, history, instead of panning back and forth, I go back and forward in history, is what happens. That's the problem. And so Handyman's patch fixes that. So sorry for wasting time. I wasted a bit of time there trying to explain what's going on, but hopefully now you know what's going on. And so now we've got to update this patch with Masayuki's comments. The other thing I want to point out is that, like I said, this bug has sort of transitioned from being support gesture events with electrolysis to don't go back and forward if there's still panning to do in the child. So I have a feeling we might want to so I want to address Masayuki's feedback and then maybe audit the rest of the gestures that Firefox pays attention to and see if they work. And I have a feeling Tracy, one of our the ETNS team's QA contact, our QA team member, has already sort of done that. So I might have to revisit the list that he wrote out of things that work and things that don't, and file new separate bugs for each of the individual gestures, and transition this one into just the history problem. So I might do that. So let's address Masayuki's feedback. That's the name of the game now. And so, Masayuki's feedback, well, hold on, let me also get rid of the bookmark that I just put on the thing I pushed, because I don't need that anymore. And here are the bookmarks I have. I've got gestures as my bookmark for Handyman's patch, so I'll update to it, and then I'm going to probably rebase it onto tip, and then I will start a build, and while I'm building I can address the feedback that Masayuki... Ooh, merge conflict. Interesting. Okay, so no plan survives breakfast. We've got ourselves an interesting little wrinkle here.
Oh yeah.
So I attempted to rebase Handyman's gesture patch on top of tip, and now I've got this merge conflict. So how are we going to deal with this? Mercurial is saying that DOM IPC tab child did not merge correctly. Like, this is the one that it's complaining about. So I will open that one up. Actually, I'll open it up in Sublime. Tab child. And then I'm going to look for these markers that indicate where things have gone wrong. And it looks like it has stuff to do with async pan zoom. So I'm going to take a look and see what has recently happened in tab child. And what's interesting is that this was up to date yesterday, so something very recently has occurred in for async pan zoom. Now let's see what it is. This stuff. Okay. Maybe I'll do a blame for now. So receive mouse wheel event is the function that things have changed. I need to figure out which one we want to do. Receive mouse wheel event. So here it is. And what was a very sort of simple function here, we explode out into a couple of other things. And this recently changed, apparently. Who's changed this stuff? The most recent change came from Botond and David Anderson. Let's see what those are. February 6th. No. No, there's something. David Anderson? April 14th. No, that doesn't. Push date. No. So something in here changed, but I don't know what it was. Oh well. Well, let's take a look at what his patch is supposed to do, and then maybe we'll just have to apply it manually. So this is in receive mouse wheel event. We expect to take this. We have this like if block, if graphics preferences, async pan zoom enabled. Okay, which we still have. Oh, but we've changed it from graphics preferences to just this general. Okay, so that's changed. That's new. That Handyman's patch didn't have. And then we have to get the document, which is still done, and then we call APZC callback helper, send set target APZC notification. Right, and we pass the widget, the document, the event, the GUID, and the input block ID. No problem. So that's fine, and then we're supposed to add this extra stuff. So I have a feeling that that's fine. Like we can still do that. It's just a matter of I'm gonna keep this form of it. We're still mpuppet widget. That's interesting. Is it supposed to be mpuppet widget? Where is this mpuppet widget thing coming from? Huh. What? That seems to disagree with what's supposedly here. You know what? Something might have landed. I'm looking at Mozilla Central. Something may have landed on inbound that's bit rotting me here. So let's take a look. Integration Mozilla inbound. I wonder if it was myself. No, there's no way. That's just a simple patch. That wouldn't do it. Simple patch in a completely unrelated file. But some of this stuff down here, this might have to do with it, because this is Cats, and Cats works on async pan zoom, so I'll bet you he's bit rotted me here. In which case, I'm not too worried about like basing my stuff on his and his stuff gets backed out. I mean, I'm not landing this. I just need to fix it up for Masayuki. So it's good to be up to date with what's going on. So let's take a look at tab child. What's a good sound to play here? Oh, trying to figure out a merge conflict.
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia. Receive mouse wheel event. Yeah, mpuppet widget. So this is the new stuff. This is the new stuff. And let's see what's changed in here. Let's take a look at the blame. Annotate is what Mercurial calls it. Annotate. I find it interesting that Mercurial's web interface does not use the word blame. It uses the word annotate, which I guess is a little more positive. Blame sounds like you did something wrong and you should feel bad. And so it's nice that, I guess it's nice that they've changed to a sort of less hostile language. They call it annotate. All right, so the change that occurred here is that instead of using mWidget, we use mPuppet widget for this call. The rest of this is the same. Okay, so that's not so bad. So I want to keep this line. I want to keep what's going on here and get rid of that. But I do want to keep the other stuff that Handyman had added, which was this stuff. But I also want to make it so that event.widget is probably mpuppet widget. would be my guess. All right, and then I'll have to test this afterwards to make sure. And then he's got some other stuff in here. Yeah, we want it to be mPuppet widget again. And what else was changed in here? Dispatch widget event, which he changes. Instead of doing this, he changes it. So maybe... I wonder if I'm doing this wrong. I'm assuming that it's all supposed to be switched over to mPuppet widget, but I might be wrong. I'm a little worried, but we'll see. Process wheel event. Where's all that coming from? Is that this? If async pan zoom enabled, PZ state. Process wheel event. That is in here, but is not in the original patch. Is it? It is, it is. He's just transmuted it. Right. So we have to get rid of this. And instead, we create this widget wheel event. We set the widget. In this case, I'm setting it to Puppet widget now. I don't know. And then I don't dispatch it. Instead, I set the status. And then do this and Puppet widget dispatch event. Event status? I don't know. That doesn't feel right. Somehow I have a feeling that's not going to work properly. But maybe. I might need to talk to, like, cats to figure out what's going on in here. But I think that is more or less unbit rotted. I just don't know if it's correct. So that's fixed. I'm going to put in air quotes. And so now I will tell Mercurial to resolve that file. It's no longer in conflict. And to continue the rebase. Hi-oh! I just wanted to play a hi-oh. Come on. All right, there we go. So now, is this going to work? I have no idea. I've rebased it. I have no idea if it's actually going to work. So what I'm going to do is do a build. I'll do a debug build. And we'll see if it builds. And in the meantime, we can start addressing some of Masayuki's feedback, which, just in analyzing it, seems to be a lot of it's stylistic feedback. Like, give you an example. A lot of nits, like move this asterisk, like to indicate that there's a pointer, move it to the left, change some things. Like it's mostly stylistic, so there might be a couple of things in here that might require deeper thought, but for the most part, I'm just going to be fixing up the stuff that Masayuki has brought up. So let's see. Let's do that right now on the assumption that my rebasing hasn't completely broken the world. So he says that in, what code is he referring to? The following code's a little bit hard to read. Could you use early return style? Because you don't do anything after the if else blocks. So I assume he's talking about this part of tab child. Receive mouse wheel. This part, I think there's a lot of logic in here, and I think he wants to do early returns. Okay. So Let's see if I can split this out into a bunch of individual early returns. So this looks like an and. If this and this, then do these things, and then we don't do anything else. So just return true. So that's the first one. I can do that. If and. So if that and that, then do that, and return true. So now we're down here. If this, we probably want to keep this assertion. If this, wheel started, keep the assertion. Clean all this. I don't fully understand what's going on, but like, if event messages this, then do that. Where's this else? That's the else for this. So I think I can combine this condition with this condition to do these things. Otherwise, just do this thing. Yeah. Okay. If event is and whoops, and that, then do this stuff and return true. I feel like I've screwed up my alignment here. It's kind of hard to. Yeah, I've screwed up my alignment. That's what's going on. If mouse wheels, if event is that, turn true, else m wheel state equals wheel handled. Turn true. Oh, now I've lost the logic here. Hang on. I need to see the original stuff. Okay, so now we are here. I'm gonna want to audit this and make sure that I haven't forgotten any cases. So when's this stuff supposed to happen? This Moz assert will occur in the event that the event message is not ns wheel wheel. Ah. Handled. If message is not equal to ns wheel wheel. I wonder if there's a way to simplify this even more. This early return style is only meh for me. Wheel handled. That's if. Oh, no. I've done that wrong. Oh, I am doing this all wrong. Nope. Back you go. I've screwed up the logic. I do think we need both of these. But just return true now. And this wheel, wheel, then turn true. Turn true. So what's this? That's for, we do this, so that might be right. We'll need to check. Okay. And then if that, then return true. Oh boy. I don't know if this early return style is any better. Like, this is very circuitous. I wonder if we can do any better here. It's like if this, then that. If this, then that. If this, then that. It's very hard to read. Masayuki is right that it's very hard to read. I just don't know if the returning early pattern makes it any easier to read. Let's see. I'm just trying to come up with ideas for ways I could simplify this even more. Very complex logic. Well, like I'm not wild about this. No, I screwed up the logic there. I shouldn't. Can't just assume that. Else being the else, if the wheel state is something other than wheel started. So wheel state is anything other than wheel started, then we check these two event types. And it's not if and else now. So maybe this is better. How's our debug build? About 11 minutes in. Alright. So, I think that's easier to read. I don't know. Let's make sure that the logic's right. When does this need to occur? This needs to occur when event message is NS wheel start and M wheel state is wheel and tracked. Which is correct. And then we return early because none of this will still execute except for this return. So that's why we put the return here. Okay, so I feel good about this one. In this case, wheel state is wheel started. And then we do all this stuff. We check to see, we do this assertion, then we check to see if the event message is NSWheelWheel. And if so, we do this stuff. Wheel handled. But if it's not wheel, then it better be wheel stop, I guess. And then we set the wheel state to untracked. We send this mouse event, mouse wheel event, and then we return. So I think this block's right too. And then if we haven't returned, both of these must return. So the only place where we would ever execute these is if wheel state is not wheel started or wheel untracked and message event. It's like, oh, if wheel state is wheel untracked, but is not this, we will not do this. We will return true. Whew. That is tricky. Tricky. Some tricky logic in here. So let's untangle this as best we can. So if wheel is untracked, if this, otherwise just return true. So let's just do that. If wheel is untracked, so I won't. If we'll do this, we'll always return true. Like we'll do this stuff, and then we'll just return true. That I think is right. So we have the wheel untracked case. The next one is the wheel started case. So the wheel is started. Then we do this business. If this, wheel. But it might not do this. And then we shouldn't do that. Yeah, that's what currently happens. If we satisfy event messages, then it's wheel, but we do not satisfy this condition, we should not do this, we should not do this, we should just return. And that wheel handled. Do not satisfy this, we should do this. And then return true. The only thing, if wheel state is wheel started and event message is not NSWheelWheel, then we do these things. Wheel state is untracked, and then we return true because we should not do any of this. Okay. If the wheel state is ignored, do that. So these have to return. I feel like there's probably a way of simplifying this even more. I don't know if I can make this, like it's a state machine. These are state machine transitions. And it's kind of lame, but these are state machine transitions. That's what's going on. Oh, wow. State machine. What else we have in here?
Mamma mia!
Mamma mia! All right. So I think that logic works out. I think that's equivalent. I sure hope it is. If you're seeing anything wrong with the logic, ping me in IRC. I'd sure like to know. How's let's see. Just checking in IRC in case anyone has any suggestions. No. All right. Well, in that case, let's move on from Masayuki's feedback. But you know what? I'm gonna address is there a better way of doing the state transitions in receive mouse wheel event? We shall see. Next. So return true. Oh, he's just. Yeah, I think I've already done some of this. If wheel state, wheel and tracked, do that. So return true, and then wheel started. I've gotten rid of the else if. Perhaps creating a new method in widget wheel event is easier to read. For example, is delta values consumed const? Return event. So he's got ideas on how we can make things better here as well. Wheel state and wheel handle, return true. Else and reduce following indent level. So he's agreeing with me on where to put the returns. There's that as well. There is a case mwheel style equals wheel ignored and event messages as wheel stop. If not so, please. I don't know. I can only assume that that case can exist. Knit. Okay, so what about this? Perhaps this can creating a new method in widget wheel event is easier to read. Is widget wheel event delta values consumed. Okay, well, let's take a look. What's a widget wheel event? Where is that even defined? Widget wheel event. Where is widget? Widget wheel event is in mouse events. Is there a mouse events.cpp? I prefer not putting too much code inside header files. That's just what I like to do. So where would the I guess not. They do it all here in the header. All right. Mouse events.h it is. Widget wheel event. Legacy DOM scroll events. These events are not handled by ESM even if widget dispatches them. Use new widget wheel event instead. Oh, right. That's this, which is what I want. Okay, so he said create a new function which would be, what was it? Our method called is delta values consumed. Okay, bool is delta values consumed. And I'm guessing I need to pass in an event, const event, a event. In this case, return overflow delta x is not equal to a event dot delta x, or overflow delta y is not equal to a event delta y. Okay. Oh, I don't think I need that. It's not declaring it. Bool is delta values consumed. So now, in tab child, wherever you are, I think I can use event dot is delta values consumed. I use that instead. And do that, and then whoop. Oh, and he's got and. That's different. And it's got to be an and. So const. Playing the wheel motion only if this first move event was in a direction we can scroll. Dispatch event will have set the overflow delta on the event if this is the case. Otherwise, return the wheel events to our parent for gesture recognition until the next wheel starts. I wonder if it should be or. Because maybe you move in like a slightly different direction. So maybe it should be or. Should is delta values consumed be using and or or? Or. I'll actually use or for now. Let's see what is next. Right, we did all this. So we should probably confirm this. Is there a case where m wheel state will be wheel ignored and event on message will be as wheel stop? Okay, so we'll answer that question later. Now where is this? Enum wheel event state. That's in tabchild.h. He wants this on that line. Okay, no problem. He's not familiar with memory alignment of Objective-C. Neither am I! Although all bools should be defined in the end. Yeah. I'm tracking gesture. As child view. Oh wait, an H. So he's worried that, yeah, we might want to do it that way, but the memory alignment he's worried about. So ask Michaud or Marcus Stanga about memory alignment in that case. Alright. Looks like over 80, so it's an 80 char limit problem in on event ignored in remote. This is in the file. Childview.h again. It's 83. Good eyes, Masayuki. So, what was his suggestion? Right. Wait, what was it? Yeah. Okie dokie. We can do that. No problem. Class, Moz stack, class, final. Gotcha. Auto release scroll event. Where's that defined? That's in childview.mm. Auto release scroll event. So class, what do you want it? Class Moz stack. Moz stack class final. Then probably do this one too. Auto release scroll event. And we'll do it this way. I agree. And events should be A events. Okay. Great. Scroll event iterator. What? What is this? That. Oh, he wants... Yeah, it's 83 characters. It's true. Yeah. Auto release scroll event. Do you really need Mozilla here? Widget, wheel, event. Apparently not. So we'll get rid of that. You can set widget wheel event star instead of message and time, but up to you. I don't know what he means here. You can set widget wheel event star instead of message and time. I don't know what you mean, Masayuki. I'm just gonna... It's up to me, so I'll just skip that part. Auto reload this thing. Move the star. No problem. Boom. Following logic should be reviewed by S. Michaud. If it were not his area, I'd be back. Oh, the following logic in here. Have S. Michaud or M. Stange review logic in track scroll event as you need to update UID and then you need to request super view after R plus of S. Michaud in NSI widget.h. Because he's added something. He's added on event, ignored in remote. And so we need to update the UUID. Where's the UUID? Here's the IID, that might be it. I think it's just the IID. I need to update this thing up here. So, oh, it doesn't like it. What happened? What happened? What are you complaining about? What? This does not look related to what I was working on. Maybe that's what I get for attempting to land on inbound. Or merge onto inbound. So, update the UUID. I think that this should be used by wheel event forever. Some needs the same thing with other events, just need to add similar methods, I think. Cocoa widget should check if the given event is which wheel event. You can widget GUI event. Okay. So I think he wants us to pass widget GUI event instead of widget wheel event. And use that. On event ignored in remote. So widget GUI event comes in as wheel event. What, has that ever been used? I need to see an example. So like that. Widget wheel event equals a event as wheel event if wheel event. So I think that's what he was asking for. So is there anything is inbound busted? That's what I want to know. Mozilla inbound. If so, maybe that's fixed things. Because what do I have on tip? Just this, and then some compile issues that came in. So I think I want to pull and rebase. So I'm going to commit my new changes, and I'm not going to merge them in to Handyman's patch. I'm going to call them something new because I'm not fully confident about them yet. Masayuki fixes, that's what I'll call it. And come on. Yay! Alright. So Masayuki fixes there. Now we'll pull from inbound. Ooh, I never played the start level sound. I love this sound, the one that goes. That always makes me so happy. Yeah, it's quite nice. A little ear splitting, but quite nice. And
Here we go!
that's always fun. Alright, what's the time? 2:09. I'm finishing up in about 20 minutes, so we've got about 20 minutes to go. Let's see if we can get this thing to at least build. So rebase onto tip. Again, drum roll. Is the rebase gonna work? Yes. All right. All right. That's good. And now let us build. Wah wah. So, now that that's off and running, what do we do? What can we do now? I mean, we're waiting for this to build. Can't really do anything, I don't think, unless maybe I can ask about some of these other things. Let me see if Marcus is willing to talk to me. I will ping him in IRC and see if it's okay to talk to me in IRC live, so you can see me asking for help. Because sometimes it's a Mamma Mia situation.
Mamma mia!
So he's responded to me. Hey, mind if I ask you a few questions about Handyman's patch and bug? Also, live hacking, so it'll be aired. No, is perfect. So we'll wait until he gives the okay, and then I will bring my chat window over. Or he might not give the okay, because sometimes it's perfectly fine to decline my requests to chat. Some people don't want to be aired, but Marcus has obliged, so thank you. Thanks. So the question I wanted to ask him was, Marcus is great, by the way. If you've never talked to Marcus Stonga in person or in IRC, he's an excellent human being. So Masayuki has some questions about his latest patch that I don't think I can answer, and I was wondering if you could. For example, he's concerned about the way we're laying out members in some Objective-C code, and he's worried, I think he's worried about efficiency in memory layout. Are those worries valid? They're minor, but still valid, I think. Alright, cool. Thanks. So I've asked. Yes, Masayuki's concerns are valid. Let's try not to make things worse here. Yes, it's about memory layout and avoiding wasting space due to padding between the members. Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay, cool. Next question. Masayuki was hoping for Esmisho or perhaps yourself to review the logic in Handyman's patch. Have you already done so? I know you won't. Marcus, when was the last time you looked at this stuff? I know you've already given feedback on it. Oh, okay. Cool, thanks. Next. Oh, apparently it's still busted. There's some bustage here, but it's different bustage, so that's good. So pulling from inbound worked, and now I'm just going to fix that up. So I'm going to add, whoops, Marcus Stanga as a reviewer for maybe track async scroll event as swipe. Final question. For $10,000. Is there ever a case in receive mouse wheel event where M wheel state, do you know if there is ever a case where M wheel state will be wheel ignored and event message will be as wheel stop? Not sure how familiar you are with the way the kind of state machiney things that are going on in here. So I've asked that. I want to fix this build now. And it was a problem of warning, out of line definition of on, event ignored, and remote does not match any declaration because no member named overflow delta X. And why would that be? Why are you freaking out? Hidden overloaded virtual, on event ignored in remote. Oh, hides overloaded virtual function. I probably did not switch all to use widget GUI event. I should be looking for on event ignored in remote. So there's one here, one here, and that's in, and it's childview.h is what I wanted to add that one. And I should be using NS widget GUI event. So I think that will satisfy it. Oh, not familiar. Cool, thanks. And I had one tiny last question. In that comment, Masayuki suggests adding is delta values consumed, checking event overflow delta xy against event delta x delta y using OR, while the original patch seems to use AND. Can I assume that my instinct says that Masayuki is right and we should be using OR, since the wheel event might be might for a delta that is only along a single axis. Is my thinking sound there? Okay, so I've asked about that. And what's the time? It's 2:20. Let's see. This build still freaking out. Doesn't like this. That's child view. No member named overflow delta X. 2690. Probably because I shouldn't be using a event. I should use wheel event. Boom, 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 boom. So try that on for size. While I'm waiting, I'll play some sounds. Play some sounds on my machine here. What's one I haven't played yet? That one's a little ear splitting. One more. Hey. All right. Yes, Marcus thinks I am right. So good. Sounds like Marcus thinks it should be or. Great. And anything else I want to play? That's a good one. You know, if there are any listeners out there who have any suggestions for sounds that I should add to my soundboard, please let me know, because I want to add more stuff to my soundboard, so I can play them for you in appropriate contexts. And in this case, I've got less than 8 minutes left before I tear it down, so I'm going to play my hurry sound. Yep. Not too much longer before I tear it down. So, let's see here. This looks like the build's going to go through all right. There's a warning there. Nothing too cumbersome. Cool. So what I think I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to post my patch. Wait, who said something? Someone said something to me. Right? Oh, someone has said something in IRC about. I'm sorry, Kill Will, whoever you are. Thank you for writing in with your suggestion. I didn't see it until now, but this fella has an idea on how we can clean up some of the logic. Subtract. Right, and I think that's what I ended up with. Let's check. Let's see if that's where I ended up. If so, it's good that like someone out there has cross-checked the work, because it makes me feel more confident, anyways. So let's see. This is great. I'm having some fellow Kill Will out there cross-check my work. That's amazing. Okay, so if the wheel's untracked, event. Oh, and he says event message equals NS wheel start. Then we do this. Now maybe we could get away with that. It's just that in the event that wheel state is not, or what is it? Suppose wheel state is wheel untracked, but event message is not NS wheel start, for example, then we will not execute this. So, for example, what if event message is NS wheel stop? Then we will not execute this, and we will execute this. And I don't know if that's a problem or not, but it's different. In mine, if wheel untracked comes in and the event message is not NS wheel start, we just ignore it. We just get out immediately. And I think I might want to keep that. Okay. But it's not too big a difference. So that does bolster my confidence. Kill Will. I'm going to ping you in IRC right now. Hey, thanks. I'm saying thanks to Kill Will. Let's take a look here. M-wheel state. See, here's the problem. I wish I knew more about what this whole thing was doing. This is one of the problems with like someone handing you a patch that you didn't work on. Is like there's a bunch of context here that I am missing. I do not know a bunch of stuff here, and so I'm just trying to maintain the same logic. And I don't know if, like, for example, allowing this in the event that event.message is not NSWheel start, but is instead NSWheel stop, is okay. It's probably okay, but I don't want to make that assumption. Let's move on. Wheel state is wheel started. Do the assertion. We check that. We do this thing. We've turned that into a helper function. Wheel ignored. Send mouse wheel event. And then he returns true here. Otherwise, we do that. Let's see what that looks like. At the cost of yeah, alright, I can do that. That looks good. I will take your feedback, Kill Will. And he does the same thing that I do. Same thing, same thing. Okay, so we're mostly in alignment. So that makes me feel a lot better, actually. Makes me feel good. And we've only got a minute and a half left before I tear down. So, but it was great to hear from someone out there. I love hearing from audience members. Audience, community, whoever you... I don't know, I don't want to just call you audience because it makes you sound very passive. And some of you might just be watching passively, that's fine. But Kill Will is clearly not being passive. Kill Will is like trying stuff out, and that's so cool. So, yeah, I don't think audience is the right word. How about cult following? Huh? Maybe. We'll think about it. Cult following? Anybody? I'll take suggestions. I'm open to suggestions. Okay, so it's 29 minutes past the hour. Let's take a look at the agenda. Where'd we get to? We did this. We landed that thing, and now we've mostly fixed this up, I think. Need to test it out still. The build's still going. I'm going to test that out this afternoon. What I'll probably end up doing is I've got two patches. I've got Handyman's original patch and then my fixes on top of it. I'm probably going to submit both, not folded together, but both together. Or even better, I'll submit one to Moz Review and then the other with my changes folded in so that people can see the interdiff so that they know the changes that I made and make sure that they're like sane. The other reminder, again, I'm away next week, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might pre-record a show, or it might just not happen next week. But then I'll make sure that the week after is extra good. I don't know what I'll do. I'll have more sounds. Maybe I'll wear a funny hat. Maybe I'll wear an afro. Bob Ross style. It is called The Joy of Coding after all. Who knows? But if you're wondering why I'm not responding in IRC or the show is just not happening next week, it's probably because I can't do it. I can't do it next week. But thank you so much for watching episode, what is this, 19? We're on episode 19, people. That's pretty epic. 19 episodes down, then either next week or the week afters will be episode 20. Pretty ballin'. So I want to thank you all for watching episode 19 of The Joy of Coding, and I will see you soon.
The joy of coding.
All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.